We're live. Hello and welcome to Transformers. There we go. I said I was going to do it. Australian Transformers Weekly, your first stop for. Hello and welcome to Transformers Weekly, your first stop and your only best hope for Transformers news in Australia. This is episode 133. Now that worked well. Record live
Sorry.
December 1st, 2017. On tonight's show, if we can get to there, episode 4 of Combiners has dropped, and it brought Overlord to the mobile screen. We got some quick shots and some quick look-ins to Tokyo Comic-Con. We got a couple of little bits of statue news, and we answered some listener questions. All that, much more.
Sorry.
Oh, that was savage.
Wow!
Sorry, Brad.
Oh, God.
Oh, we answered some
Jason.
listeners.
Jason, come back.
Are you underwater, mate?
Yeah. I got to drive
did
to
good.
Melbourne early in the morning. I'm on water. God.
You did good, Brad. You did good.
Yep.
All
right,
let's
here, we're
let's cut
doing
back
it.
in from the credits. Oh, I'm your host for this evening, Brad. Unfortunately, please come back next week. Joining me this week, we have our man in the north, Mikey. Hello, sir.
North? Oh, it's from you?
North from me.
I don't know. I'm not good at geography. I'm New South Wales. Woo! Hi. Yeah, I'm good. I, like many people, have just been spending the last day and two watching the Infinity War trailer and bloody loving it. I know it has nothing to do with Transformers, but I just couldn't stop watching that thing. I really, really did enjoy it. So that was me the last couple of days.
To bring another voice into that conversation, we also have our Queensland rep and the Decepticon leader himself of the Decepticon Military Network, Chris Turner, back again. This is a
Back again.
Back again, anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm pretty sure it's a trifecta. It's my third time, so we'll go with that. Yeah, no, nice to be here again, guys. Thanks for having me. I'm even further north than Mikey, obviously.
Yes, you are.
The king in the
Oh,
north.
The king in the north.
Yeah, no, I've been, well, for me, I've been quiet in the group for the last week. Not that anyone's noticed, but but no, I just landed a new job.
Congratulations.
Thank you. It's involved a lot of training and meetings and drama, and yeah, so I haven't had my usual focus on the group where I can annoy people with constant posts about Decepticons and and starting arguments about movies and episodes of Titan's Return, but I've caught up on that over the week, so yeah.
Perfect.
That should be an interesting discussion then when we get to it in a
Oh,
minute.
it shall be.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Going
Yeah,
back
I think
to...
I get the impression I'm going to be devil's advocate in this one, but
Quite possibly.
Overlord's advocate maybe, but yeah.
Nothing wrong with that. Going back to the Infinity War stuff from before, though, Chris, you want to stick your face in a bowl of jelly and then paint yourself purple?
Well, you know what? This is what's funny is Mikey posted on his personal Facebook page a picture of Thanos, and then was it some English billiard player or something?
No, he's the
fat bald dude.
he's not just a fat bald dude. He's well renowned, the number one darts player in the world, Mighty Michael.
Oh yeah, well, forgive me.
But, come on.
But I posted a comment. Going, what? Because he's bald, I may as well be Thanos then. And then
well, there you go. Why not?
He was like, no, there's other features as well.
He does have
I reckon I'd make him gained like 40 Ks. I'd probably make a decent Thanos, and like got a jaw implant, like right, just like a big chin, like Mickey Rooney chin. Like
it's kind of like you need like layers, like it's like you need a double chin, but you need it sideways and then the layers go. Like that.
And like look like somebody's got a couple of forks and just dug trenches through it for some reason.
Through your giant chin, like a Stan Smith. But kind of like more squished.
Yes,
down.
Or the Quagmire.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I just
love
it. Does look really cool though, that trailer. Like I'm actually, a lot of people had a lot of, anytime a big big thing like this comes out, there's always naysayers, but I thought it looked cool. I
Oh,
mean,
always.
Spider-Man's wearing the Iron Spider suit. Like, I'm a big Spidey
That's
fan,
awesome.
so hell yeah.
Yeah.
That's
I'm
it.
down
It
with
was
that.
alluded to in Homecoming that it's there to be used. So in an event
Yeah.
like this,
Mm.
I'm
beyond
Like-
excited. Just
yeah,
everything in it.
like Star Wars, people are going to go and see it. Marketing people in charge of marketing don't show us half
Man.
the film in the trailers.
Mm.
I don't know, man. It's broken into 2 films, and you got to remember how many years and almost every Marvel MCU movie that's been released is a lead up to these 2
17,
movies.
yeah.
I know.
All 17
Yeah.
of them.
How many are
So-
there? 17. Like you've got
Yeah.
to see these movies, like,
Yeah.
or at least have
Well,
a
I'm
nice
not surprised
synopsis of
that
each
they've.
movie.
Well, it's going to be Infinity War Part 1 and 2, and they're both going to be
Yep.
like massive movies. Like, they're not going to be
Oh, yeah.
like short or anything. So, but you got to think about it. I mean, I don't want to spend too much time on this, but if you know the Marvel comics, and I'm sure most of us have some idea of the comic world,
Mhm.
the Infinity War was a huge event. Like, it's probably the biggest event that's ever happened in Marvel Comics. So,
Well,
I
that's
mean,
why
they've
I'm
got
glad at least
they got a
there's-
lot to get through. So,
Let me just get me watering
Yeah.
can and simmer you down a little bit. The this one's called Avengers: Infinity War. The second one is not part 2. It's something. It's going to be something
Mm.
else. So whatever
Really?
happens there is
But it's
Mm.
still
they've
continuing.
changed.
yeah, it'll be the same story. They probably won't call it Part 1 and Part 2. They'll call it
Yeah.
something
Yeah.
snazzier.
So
but
Infinity War,
yeah.
we all know what's going to happen at the end of the movie. It's going to end bad. It's not going to end good because it's a 2-parter, or they're at least going to make.
well,
these 2 movies.
spoiler alert, they have an animated Infinity War movie. So I've got a
Go and
Yeah,
see
well,
what
they're not
bit of
happens.
an
gonna just-
impression there. Yeah.
They're not just going to
It's
put
like
that
it's-
slap bang on the thing, you know.
Well, it's like the Thor Ragnarok movie. That's basically like ripped straight from Planet Hulk. And they've got, not only is that a comic series, but they've got an animated movie of that. And
And there's a TV series.
Ray Bill being Thor, like it's almost exactly the same story. So, yeah, it's even got Korg in it. So,
Yeah.
Korg is the
piss off,
best Marvel
Ghost.
character.
I loved him.
I love Korg. He's
If
so
Oh.
good.
I'm back early enough to get up on Sunday, I want to go and see it.
It's Brad.
Yeah.
It's a very good film.
Yeah.
It's probably the best.
I'd say
Thor.
like, yeah, easily the best Thor, man. Like, just my opinion, but by far, by a huge margin. Funny as hell.
Mm.
Funny as hell, that movie.
It's-
I was
it's
cracking up the
definitely
whole way
an action
through.
comedy.
Yeah.
Mm, yeah.
Before we leave
Anyway,
the world
enough
of-
about Marvel. This isn't the Marvel. This isn't the Marvel.
No, just before we go, I just love how hearing a couple of movie podcasts that last couple of days, how people have been talking about Thanos and going how he's such a CG character and how they'd prefer just, I can't recall his name right now, in some sort of suit and makeup. And I
Right.
think, well,
Oh yeah, Josh.
Yeah.
What's his face?
Whedon?
Yeah,
Josh-
I know what you mean.
no,
No, the guy, Josh Brolin. He plays
Brolin,
Thanos.
yeah, that's it, yeah. But they're
Yeah.
saying like, oh, couldn't you just put makeup on him and that, and just sort of beef him up with a bit of CGI enhancements?
No, you can't.
Well,
no.
No, because
No, Thanos
they've
is
done
massive.
that.
He's like the
Yeah.
same size as the Hulk.
And he's an alien. He's not a human. Like, come on, guys.
And
Like,
that's probably where you're going to lose that uncanny valley thing with the CGI, because X-Men tried to do that with Apocalypse. It looked like a Power Rangers villain, and now this looks like a 2015 Power Rangers villain. So it's sort of,
Yeah.
you can't get in between that area.
Well,
Well-
this is the last thing I want to at least say about this is the music was epic. I love the Avengers music. The whole no.
Yeah.
I just love that. That made the trailer for me. A great music makes a good trailer, and that's what like all the Star Wars do, and I think they did with this one.
Alan Silvestri, and that's definitely one thing I do love about the Marvel films or the Avengers films, having his soundtrack involved.
Mm.
But
So good.
before I'm washed away here at TCCA headquarters with the ravenous winter storms we're getting at the moment in summer, let's move on to Put Your Bot to Work. Mikey, congratulations.
First time we've
Nice
had the
work,
winner
buddy.
on the show. Woo!
Yeah, nice work, buddy.
Yeah,
this,
so
this is your second entry.
this is my second entry, second
Yeah.
winning entry.
Second winning entry. Yeah.
Well, it would be my third entry, but yeah. So, but yeah, no, this one, I woke up and just like, isn't it Take Your Bot to Work Day? And I just got out of bed and just like, I saw there was other two posted and just like, what can I do? I've got my new favorite figure. What can I do? And then I just figured, okay, We're going full time.
You know what though? I entered. I pretty much enter every week, and I entered, and by the time I entered, your post already had 20 likes. Like, and my post was basically along the my post was basically on the lines of like, well, I'm clearly not going to even win this or even come close. So I
well, that's the thing. You got to get in when as soon as it. That's why I did it as soon as it was posted. You got to get in early to get.
You get a clear advantage because it's just most people who look at the earlier one. Not to say it's not an awesome entry. Like there's a reason. I mean, 20 likes, man. Even like a normal win rate, like that's pretty much double. You know, except for Haley's entry.
Yeah, that's only.
But you do get an advantage jumping in early, just because people who look at it won't look at it again later on when other people have entered. You know what I mean? So you get those few extra clicks, sort of thing.
And that's I'll try and bump it up whenever I can, just to try and keep it up the top. Mainly on a Thursday, because you've got that day after most people post.
What figures are they? Those two humans, Mikey?
So the dude is.
It's clearly a Armada tidal wave underneath it, obviously.
Yep, and that's my. Yep, that's.
We'll talk about later.
We shall. That is the ultra. That is Daniel, older Daniel from the Daniel and Spike that came with MP Ultra Magnus.
Yep.
And
right.
The girl is. The girl who loves Powerglide that came from DX9.
Oh, wow.
Powerglide, yeah.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So,
I thought they were just random action figures.
No, they're Transformers figures.
Daniel and unnamed girl.
I don't know her name. I always forget her name.
I thought she was a lot more detailed, but
nope.
I can't click on it. Reload.
Yeah, so
I still can't click on it.
That actually worked out better than I expected because just putting the arms out, and then she was in a good enough pose, and so I was actually really quite proud of that one. So,
and what was your caption? The caption was "I'm king of the world."
I'm the king of the world. Yeah. So thank you everyone who voted. I really enjoyed that picture. That was definitely my favorite entry, definitely by far.
Great work, man.
Thank you.
Yeah, nice one.
Let's get into it, shall we?
Brad.
Episode 4 of Titan Return did go live this week. We'd seen a missile, or the missile launch from base station, or as we see in this, Ice Island Fort Max. It's a weird transit system to have a headmaster travel in a missile, then have that missile explode to the back of a Titan.
That was strange.
Metroplex and Starscream, I won't call it Triptychon because it's Starscream, continue to wrestle, and the Combiners done some stuff. So
they did move, and
let's not
lost his arm.
Yeah, Metroplex lost his arm, and
we're forgetting the big one. We're forgetting the big one.
Mystery Flame.
Of course.
Overlord.
Took on Overlord. Yep.
Lost.
Very badly.
So Lost is putting it nicely. She was squished like a grape. I would say. I'd say
annihilated is a closer term.
I think even her ghost would be bruised after that one.
Yeah, definitely. That was.
We'll leave that one to the end because it's a fun one. Anyway, transit missile getting shot, and our introduction of Emissary, played by Jason David Frank, which unfortunately just sounded like the Green Ranger.
I love how he was always surrounded by green. Did you notice Emissary was always a green glow coming off him? And I thought he was going to say, it's morphing time whenever he was going to connect with Metroplex. That was a missed opportunity on their part.
I think that hinted to it enough.
It's more of a trademark issue than a missed opportunity.
Probably, well, fair enough. Fair enough.
He arrives on the scene and he has the ability to power up Metroplex.
Yeah, he's a Titan Master. Yeah.
So,
let's face it. If he was explained to be Fort Max's Titan Master, right? Obviously, because he came from Fort Max. So, are we basically calling him the Titans Return Cerebro, because isn't Cerebro normally Fort Max's Titan Master
So
or
Cerebros
Headmaster?
is the head. So so Emissary. What Spike was?
Yeah, emissary should be
Cere-
Spike.
Yeah.
Yeah, Emissary should be
Okay.
Spike, and then Cerebros is for Max's head because he's a
Yeah.
double
But
headmaster.
see, this is where it gets complicated, because obviously as older fans who are more
Mhm.
familiar with G1 and stuff, we think of what the Titan Master characters are based on. We think of the Headmasters and the Target
Headmasters,
Masters
yeah.
and the Power Masters, who were organic beings.
Yeah.
In the original G1 cartoons, they were the Nebulans. They were like
Yeah.
human-type aliens from Nebulos.
Yep.
But one of the sort of updates, even though some of them are the same characters, some of the updates they've made for Titans Return, initially in the toy line, but obviously in the show now as well, is that I actually read up about this the other day because I was curious about it. But the Titan Masters aren't organic beings like they used to be. They are basically minicons, like.
Yeah.
But they're like an ancient race of Transformers that controls Titans, basically. So, yeah, interestingly, that's why I'm guessing that's why they named him Emissary, because as you guys just said, he would normally be Spike, wouldn't he? Because
Yeah,
Spike turns into Cerebros's head, and Cerebros turns into Fort Max's head. So,
Anyway, you put
and
it,
an Emissary's too small to be his head. So,
yeah. And organic in those suits, they were always split in half though. So
Yeah.
when they transformed, unfortunately. But yeah, no, I get what
no, I've seen in the Simon Furman Guide to Transformers, they show you how it works, and it's actually quite clever. Those headmaster suits from the original G1, they do look like little robots. They're actually like piloted mechas, and they open up at the chest like a mech warrior, and there's a little dude sitting in a seat there. So that's how they can transform
Right, so
without
they're not
squished
putting
and
their
crushed
arms
up.
into
Yeah,
the-
they're actually
right,
like a
fair
little dude sitting in a cockpit in the chest,
Okay, cool.
sort of thing. So
Fair enough.
yeah, that makes because I used to think the
More
same thing as a
sense.
kid. I'm like, wouldn't you like if you're a
snap
dude
a person.
and you turn into a head, like wouldn't that rip your arms off and your guts come squishing out? And
I always wanted that this time.
Yeah.
And we probably should mention too that the Takara Fort Max, its headmaster was Emissary.
Oh, was it?
remember
Yeah. Well,
rightly.
see, that was confusing to me. I didn't know that. Yeah.
Because that's I'm
Okay.
pretty sure that's from Headmasters. It's not Sparkle. It's
Sparkle.
yeah. I don't know. Whatever happened there,
Yeah.
but
Emissary
might- we might
US
put it off.
one as well, the normal release,
yeah,
isn't it?
but it was named by Takara, so
Oh, right, okay.
and just brought across.
Okay.
But
I don't own
that's-
Fort Max. Obviously, I don't know.
Yeah.
Until it
But
Crossing my fingers
no,
for
he
Tripticon for
definitely-
Christmas.
Yeah,
Same
he
here.
definitely acts. He definitely acts like a minicon rather than what you'd think a headmaster would be, because the headmasters were to improve their aim and military tactics.
That's it.
Whereas,
Well, what I read about the Titan Masters is they're like this ancient Transformer race, and essentially their sort of power, I guess, is the ability to take over and control Titans. So it's not just like they sort of like the headmasters, as you said, would add power and they'd bond, like they used to call it binary bonding, meaning it was like a combiner thing, like they sort of join minds. Whereas from what I read about the Titan Masters, they actually control any Titan or any Transformer that they take over. So
Also,
it's more of an oppressive kind of domination sort of thing. They actually fully take control of the Transformer.
when I saw the reveal of Tripticon, do they also contain like an ability? The Titan
No,
Masters. also
from
contain
what
an
I've
ability?
seen is that appears to be the gimmick of the Power of the Primes line.
yeah,
It's those
that's what I was
Prime
gonna-
Masters. Yeah.
I was going to say that.
I mean, they work
Even
like a
when-
headmaster from what I can see, but they're
Yeah.
the ones that sort of give them a power like super speed or
When they revealed Tripticon and like they showed off the feature that Tripticon could eat the Titan Masters, they said if he eats a certain Titan Master, he actually gains their ability. Like
Okay.
one of them.
Oh, right,
was-
okay.
Yeah, so I think
'Cause
each one comes with an ability as well as just being a head and also a separate robot.
Well, Tripticon, the Titans Return Tripticon toy. One thing I really liked about it is, I mean, if you're a fan like we are of like all the different types of Transformers series and stuff, one thing I liked about it was Trypticon is full of little Easter eggs and certain references, and like for instance, one of his modes is the ship mode.
Yeah.
Obviously, if you played the Cybertron games or if you watched Transformers Prime, as a punishment for failing, and Megatron reformatted Trypticon into the Nemesis, his spaceship. That's why his spaceship kind of looks like Trypticon, which is why they gave
the next one.
Yeah, well, that's why they gave the Titans Return release that ship mode as a nod to that. But from what I read about the gimmick where Trypticon can eat Titan Masters and they sort of store in his sort of in like a sort of cell in his belly, was actually a reference to I think it's Transformers Armada. It might be it's one of the sort of older, more obscure series where Trypticon is a prison, and it's actually Trypticon Prison, and he's not a Transformer. It's just Trypticon in city mode, and that's where they keep like all the like most badass Decepticons locked up. That's where I think I might be getting confused, but I'm pretty sure that's where if you've watched Armada or Energon, sorry, that's where Shock Blast.
That
The
could be that.
Shockwave repaint. He was being kept in Trypticon prison, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, long story short, that's supposed like it's another little Easter egg reference that the toy has is awesome. That he is a prison as well, you know, like so he's sort of got like bits and pieces from like every series he's appeared in, which is pretty cool for one toy, you know. So
and if you like Easter eggs, the Repro label set for Trypticon gives him a ton more Easter eggs, which is awesome. It gives him
cool. Little
prisons,
references.
Tons of references, Cybertronian that you can actually decode, and like it has like it's like kind of like a mall kind of dealio where it says go this way for this cell, go that way for that. So
cool.
So there's 3 different sets, and I'm actually already ordered, even because I might be getting Trypticon for Christmas, or I might not. I don't know. But
I'm hoping I do. I'm not holding my breath though.
I've ordered the Repro label sets regardless. But yeah,
you've ordered them without knowing you've got the actual figure
I'll
to
get
put them on.
one way or another. If I have to steal it, I will. But now, I'm excited for that. That I love Easter eggs like that, as you said. I'm a sucker for Easter eggs like that.
Well, Brad, I know we sidetracked a little bit, but can we please talk
anyway,
about Overlord now? I really want to talk about Overlord.
So we I was definitely getting a Minicon vibe from Emissary, and I think it's important with this series to forget about any Transformer lore apart from what we've seen in Combinables, because they're plucking things from here and there. If you
it's clearly its own continuity, man. That's what I've noticed as the show's gone on. It's a lot of people for a long time have believed it's an extension of G1. Some people believe it's an extension of IDW G1. The longer you watch this, the more it becomes clear this is its own thing. It's not connected.
Exactly.
It's got references to other series. Yeah. This is a whole nother alternate, in much the same way that Robots in Disguise is not
Prime,
Beast Wars or Prime, or you know what I mean?
Like Prime, but not really. I don't know.
Well, that's the thing, is they break it all up into these huge umbrella continuities, but even the ones in the same continuities don't really match up. Like, if you want to go by continuities, then Rescue Bots is in the same universe as War for Cybertron, which makes no sense, you know. But this thing is like in a league of its own. I don't even think it's part of a continuity. Like, it's just
continuity never works.
Anyway, we get a nice little shot of the Basilica, and Mistress of Flame is in there praying to Unicron or Primus. It shouldn't be anyone else. And
it's the 13
in strolls Overlord
and Primus. Which is, can I just say something about that, which I found strange. She's in the Basilica, and she starts off by praying to Primus, and it's sort of a very religious kind of rant where she starts saying, I beseech, like, your children, the 13 primes, and she starts naming them, right? She starts naming the classic 13 primes. So she talks about Amalgamus, the fluidity of it. What was strange, though, is she starts off by saying, we need the wisdom of the wisest of the 13 or something, Sentinel Prime. Sentinel
Yeah,
Prime
I
is
got
not
that.
one of the 13. You know,
No,
and
he's not.
I thought it was weird that she threw that in there first to give it emphasis.
And
But
it was
I mean,
wrong.
unless they're gonna use him, like, it's really strange that all the other primes were definitely
Yep,
part of the
Yeah.
13,
I did notice
and they're
that.
well-known members of the 13. Sentinel Prime was a
He's
normal
got to be
prime. He
coming
was a
in.
prime. Yeah.
It's got.
So-
Well,
Oh,
that's true. He's
yeah,
a
that was
toy, so he's got to be
smoking
coming in the show. Yeah, he's got a
Yeah.
toy
Yeah, you're right.
coming in.
Yeah. Well, one would assume he's dead, but
Mm.
One would
like-
assume a lot about this show, and
Yeah, yeah.
you're usually wrong
That's
most
true.
of the time.
That's true.
Mm.
That's true. It is a show full of surprises.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Like, are we up to the
Yeah,
best?
let's
bit
do
yet,
it.
or-
Go, Mikey.
Okay.
Go.
Yeah.
And then Overlord, out of absolutely nowhere. Hey guys, I've got a southerner accent. How you going? Like what? Okay. And then just interrupting a religious ceremony, and then she gives Mistress of Flame gives her all to at least put a dent on him. Not a thing. Like, and she fires a lot of shit at him. She hits him with a big stick, and the big stick doesn't do anything multiple times. And yeah, and then when he retaliates, she
summons an
just-
army of drones.
army of like
They all shoot millions of lasers at him.
guns on
Yeah.
them. And they all, and then
Yeah.
when the louder she screams, the more they fire, which is interesting.
Hmm.
And yeah, Overlord is unfazed. Then he just like touches her, and then she dies, and then yeah,
Well, he did a bit more than touch her. He
Yeah.
sort of,
he annihilated her.
at one point, he
Yeah.
punches her across the room and leaves a crater in the wall by the
The
force that he hit her with.
wall.
At the end of it, after she pretty much expends everything that she's got, and the most she manages to do to him is to bring out a few sparks. And then he smashes her to the ground again, and then steps on her legs, crushing them flat. And then that's right. And then he throws her up into the air
Throws her into the lights.
and into
when
the
she
lights,
gets-
which electrocutes her. And then he
Yeah.
leaves her crumpled, destroyed,
Bleeding.
smoldering.
Oh, she's bleeding.
body.
There's lots of blood on the floor. Oh,
Now, I mean, we'll
Anna
get
John.
we'll get into
Anna
the
John.
we'll get into the bits and pieces of like the for and against and everything. But I'd like to say something here. Regardless of people's thoughts on that scene, I knew I'd probably be playing the devil's advocate here, but I absolutely loved that scene. That was amazing. Overlord is,
cheering. I was cheering.
yeah, Overlord. Not only was Overlord has Overlord always been one of my all-time favorite Transformers. I absolutely love the character, and so by all means, I should be the most critical of his appearance in a new series. I felt like they not only that, but he also like killed Mistress of Flame, and I hate that character. So
she
Yes.
just
that was
died.
great.
It was another character. So I'm not sad that she's dead. So like, I'm just like, okay, cool. It's
Yeah,
not like it's
yeah,
Prime, right?
I'm really glad that she was killed in the way that she was killed, because she had that coming.
violently, very violently.
But I mean, everything about Overlord and the way they depicted him to me was amazing. I mean, I had a few discussions, I had a few debates, I had a few arguments in the group about it. And there is a lot of hatred towards his depiction. I'm not quite sure where some of the venom is coming from, because some people really hated him and thought he was ridiculous. But I mean, in my case for him was that, as I said, I'm a big fan of the character. There was three things that really stood out to me about his depiction in it. Firstly was his actual character, right down to his physical abilities and his presence and everything, seems to be a perfect mix of the original Japanese G1 Overlord with the IDW badass comic book Overlord.
Yep.
And they seem to have just perfectly meshed him together into one solid character. Now, although it stirred up a lot of controversy, the second thing for me was his voice. A lot of people didn't like it. Yeah, and I know you hated it, Mikey. For me, they pretty much nailed his character as well. He was arrogant, he was sarcastic, he was obstinate, and also a very sort of obstinate. A very sort of cool, sinister, like just like that dude at the back of the pub playing with a butterfly knife that like you do not want to mess with, you know what I mean? And I think the third thing, and I'll leave it at this because I know I'm in a minority opinion thinking that this is a great scene, was the fact that a lot of people really took issue with the fact that the Mistress of Flame really threw everything that she had at Overlord, and did nothing. Like, there were sparks flying, but he was literally laughing it off. At one point, he said to her, "You're a politician, not a fighter, and you're not a very good politician at that sort of thing." I like the little references there, but to me, like, a lot of people are like, "Oh, he was so OP," like, you know, as if it wouldn't, like, you know, leave a scratch or a dent or whatever. That's another thing. If you know his other appearances in other Transformers media, that's a very integral part of Overlord's character. The reason he's so powerful is he's almost invincible.
Yep.
He's basically indestructible to an extent, obviously, but most normal Transformers cannot touch him. They can't. And that's why he's a
phase
badass.
sixer.
Like, he's a phase sixer. He's a world ender. He's one of the Decepticons that Megatron sends in at the very end of an invasion to exterminate everybody and just leave the planet a blistering crater. So,
He
so
took
I'll
on
leave
Fort
it at that.
Max
But that
before as
was, what's that? Sorry?
He took on Fort Max before as well, and he destroyed him.
Oh yeah, yeah. He's a monster. He I mean, I'm going back.
He's like the Joker in a way. He can, like, you can never get rid of him, and he always seems to get away with, like, some intensely.
Well, I
effed
like
up
the way
shit.
that even other Decepticons are scared of him because he's. I mean, I won't go too much into it, but a very famous arc that he was a part of in the IDW comics was he actually took over a Decepticon prison, or an Autobot prison for Decepticons, called Garrus 9.
Garrus 9, yep.
Yeah, and instead of freeing the Decepticons, he kept all the Autobots that were guarding them there, including Fort Max, and all the Decepticons that were imprisoned there. And rather than free his mates and keep the war going, he became a weirdly power-mad king who sat in a throne and forced them all to fight each other to the death for his amusement. And there's some really famous IDW images of him sitting in a throne with, like, Energon blood just, like, dripping from his hands, and, like, he was like Conan the Barbarian. It was awesome.
Also, the fact that he turned Fortress Maximus into a door. Remember that?
Yeah.
Yep. He basically strung his organs up, and you had to really hurt Fortress Maximus. Like, he's already in
Just
the most
to open
pain
it.
a Transformer. Yeah, he's already in the most pain a Transformer can be, with, like, all his organs hanging out and shit. You actually have to hurt him even more to open the door, where the Wreckers had to obviously get into.
Yeah.
That's like intense. That's again like Joker level, like, insane shit. And that's how I like it. Like, I didn't mind him in this episode. Like, I agree with your first 2 points, but just the first and third point. But the second, bloody hell, math. The second point, I just didn't like. Is not how I like. Whenever I read him in the comics, I always imagine him as kind of just like a very.
And I should reiterate that too. That was my opinion. You know what I mean? Like, I can understand why some people wouldn't like it, but yeah, I know what you mean, man. I know, and I noticed you were one of the first people to be like, "What was with his voice?"
I was very like, but anyway.
But even you must admit, voice aside, even you must admit, he said he had one of his lines was one of the coolest character introductions I've seen in Transformers in a while, and I actually made a post about it on the Military Network today. But he comes in, and the Mistress of Flame says, "Who invited you into this sacred chamber?" And he turns around and he goes, "I don't need invitations from anybody. I'm Overlord." And I was just like, "Oh, that is such a badass way."
Okay, I will definitely agree. This is everything is great about him. I just really imagine his voice.
Weren't feeling the voice.
Didn't click. No, definitely.
Yeah. But yeah, it was a great scene for me. I mean, I've been on the show before as a devil's advocate. I know Jason isn't the hugest fan of the show,
Nope.
and there's quite a lot of people who don't like it. I actually quite like the show, but this episode has just kicked it up to a next level for me. And Overlord appearing. I mean, let's also talk about the fact that
we didn't even know he was going to appear.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
no one.
Well, that's the
he
thing
wasn't
is when he comes in. Well, when he comes into the chamber, Mistress of Flame goes, "Megatron," and he's like, "Not quite, not even close."
Like,
and there's the scene when he's beating her up, and he says, "You thought I was Megatron," him or something like that. And he's like, where can I find him or something like, I paraphrase, you know,
Yeah,
but
he's gonna find him.
obviously there's a connection there. He wants to go and take on Megatron or, you know, like, so.
Which I'm looking forward to, I will admit.
Is he going to be the big bad villain in this or, you know? Because they've
I wish
set him
they
up in a pretty badass way.
I wish they didn't call the episode Overlord and Emissary, because like if they didn't call the episode that, I would have been more excited. Just like, okay, hold on, wait, there's someone in this called Overlord. Oh, like, it would have been more of a shock value if they didn't put him in the bloody title. But
you know what's weird though? This is just me being an idiot, I guess. But I saw the title when I watched it, and I was the thought of Overlord being part of this show was so foreign to me. I hadn't heard anything about it. There was nothing was revealed in the upcoming stuff to it. The thought of it was so foreign to me. Like, no way would they put Overlord in this show. Yeah, because they don't like putting new characters in this. You know, I thought it might have been like I thought it might have been like, because it was Overlord and Emissary, I just assumed, oh, well, they've called one of the Titan Masters Overlord.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? Like, and then he walks in and I was like, I almost jumped out of my chair. I was like, oh, Overlord! The actual Overlord!
Or Trip to Scream comes out and says, oh, I'm now your Overlord or something.
Something like that was going to happen before. I'd admit, I was expecting, like Starscream Triptychon to be the Overlord of the situation before we actually saw, even though we already had a figure, so we could have figured.
Yeah.
But
to me, it's like in the Bay movies how they've got a character named.
Oh yeah.
I don't know, something from G1, and you're like, well, that's clearly not the same character. They've just used the name.
Probably.
Like Barricade. Barricade is an original character for the movies, obviously the Decepticon cop car, but he was a G1 character, but he just had the same name. He was a little, really badly coloured Formula One. Really horrible colours. He was like bright pink and bright baby shit green or something like that.
Yeah, but just getting back to the power scale here. You got to go back to G1 where they were shooting lasers at each other and Megatron just retreated even though it was doing no damage.
Yeah, exactly.
And
even in the Bay films, you had, like, in the first film, you had Jazz and that sort of shooting at Megatron, just pew, 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 pew.
And he was laughing at it.
Yeah. And just overpowered, oversized. Someone tried to compare it to, well, if, I'm sorry if this offends, if a midget punched or hit a 7-foot NBA player, it still hurt him. Well, no, of course it would, because we're flesh, we're human.
Yeah.
If you've got a small robot taking on a big robot, Real Steel would probably confirm this, although I'm not remembering it. Like, the bigger the robot gets, the more mass it has, the thicker armor it has, and stuff like this. You got a small, and I'm going to be sexist, a little skinny little fembot like this that just goes up and starts pinging against, as you said, a Decepticon.
They even say it. They even say it when they're fighting. Overlord, I mean, it's already clear that he's on another level compared to your standard Transformer. But while they're fighting, as I said before, he laughs at the fact that she's a politician. Like, she did a good effort for what she could, but she's a member of the council. She's not a friggin' Phase 6er world ender, you know, like he is. And to me, a lot of people are like, oh, yeah, it was just so stupid how, and I was just like, no, that I'd be pretty annoyed if that's how it didn't go down.
Oh,
you know what I mean? If they show Mistress of Flame knocking him around with this hammer, I'd be like, that's Overlord. She was not going to walk
out of that room. We knew when Overlord entered that room, that unless that character, she was getting, like, they were organizing something together, that she was not actually going to leave that room alive.
Yeah. No, she's the bridge crew and phases are set to stun. She has got no killing ability whatsoever.
She has a cape for no reason, and it's stupid. Yeah.
And she has no alt mode.
Well, let's face it. I mean, she got trounced, but she put up a good fight. Like, there was some cool scenes there where she clones herself and, like, you know, she's jumping around doing ninja stuff with the hammer. And as we mentioned before, this army of drones appears and
Copperhead. Copperhead.
I was Dragon Balling all over the place with when she was doing all that shit.
I'm gonna say Copperhead.
And what I loved was while she was doing that, he was like, just copping it, and it wasn't. He was just laughing, like
Exactly.
you know.
I'm not
and,
even moving.
yeah.
He's just standing there going like, "Is this gonna end soon? Am I gonna do
But
something?"
this is the thing I was saying in the group today, because somebody said, well, that makes it dull. Nobody likes an OP enemy and stuff like that. And my analogy was, I was like, you know, at the end of the day, you look at, say, you know, and the analogy I used off the top of my head was like in Dragon Ball Z, Frieza. When Frieza first appeared in the show, Frieza was destroying planets, exterminating whole races of aliens. All the heroes threw everything they had at him, and he just laughed it off, like he wasn't even phased by it, like he was just toying with them, you know. But at the end of it, there was character development, like the heroes. Goku becomes a Super Saiyan for the first time, and like later on in the other Dragon Ball series, they keep bringing Frieza back because Frieza was such a popular villain. But like my argument was, it's like it's the same with Overlord. They're like, oh, he's OP, like as if, you know, nothing can touch him. He's boring. It's like
he should be.
It's like, man, that's the thing. He's Overlord. Like, there's only about 3 or 4 other Transformers in the whole Transformers universe on his level. You know, like,
just,
you know,
listen to his name. He's obviously going to be someone to be messed with. Overlord.
Yeah.
He's not going to be like.
Well, who are the Phase 6s, Mikey? In IDW, it's 6-shot Overlord and
six-shot
Sky
Overlord,
Shadow.
Black Shadow, Sky Shadow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Gun.
I think there's,
and like
there's more. I'm not sure.
I'm pretty sure like they're the main 3 anyway, and they're like. Yep. They're the ones, like I said, like there's 6 phases of a Decepticon invasion, and they're the final phase. They're the ones where Megatron's like, right, we've taken all the energy from this planet, we've done everything. You guys come in and destroy the planet and kill everybody on it. Like, and there's 3 of them, you know, like.
Yep, just 3 dudes.
I actually remember the comic where he sends 6-shot down, and it's just 6-shot versus a whole planet, and he's just exterminating him. Like
each mode is doing something. Just to make sure everyone, I can turn into 6 things. I'm gonna kill you 6 different ways. Okay, just making sure.
That's it.
I do turn into a submarine. Sorry, a gun.
Oh god.
It's also a issue with the storytelling in this, because he's
an issue with the storytelling in
he's not quite he's not quite a combiner. He's a leader class figure, so he's in between a combiner and the Mistress. Mistress would be about a deluxe.
He's a giant Duocon, really.
He is basically a Duocon.
Yeah.
But in the previous series, we got to see Windblade take Decepticons, take combiners in twain with a magic sword, which has disappeared in this. So it sort of overpowered her more to the fact that now any sort of bots, even Rodimus or Hot Rod now, or even Preceptor, why they don't have the ability also to take action against a larger bot like that?
I agree, but you know, there are scenes like, you know, Windblade fights Optimus Prime, and he very easily beats her. You know, like, so it's. I do know what you mean. Like, I actually liked Combiner Wars, but that was an issue I had with it too. Was that she was way too powerful. I really don't like that for Titan's Return as well, that they've made her the protagonist. Yeah, and she has to be a part of everything, and it's really annoying. Like in Combiner Wars, she was the one going around killing all the combiners. Then she got Prime and Megatron to team up with her so they could go and fight Starscream. And in Titan's Return, she suddenly Metroplex's needs her for anything. I don't understand what the connection is for. You know, like.
She's the
and that does annoy me about the series. Is like
maybe she's the counselor.
I don't know, but I just find that, like, I'm a fan of both series, particularly Titan's Return. I'm really loving this show at the moment, but
it's better than the other one, I'm telling you that much.
Yeah, it does annoy me though. Like Windblade, like I couldn't give a shit about her as a character, like honestly, and I don't like seeing her just being the center of attention all the time and just suddenly having every power and every important role in the show. It's just like, you know, meanwhile Prime, like whether it be Rodimus Prime, Optimus Prime, like other Autobot characters are like secondary characters to her, and that
what if she was a
Metroplex is a secondary character to her. So
Chris, what if she was a Decepticon?
She did have a purple.
I still wouldn't like her. No, honestly, because it's like I I guess there's no real Decepticon equivalent to her.
Slipstream is like kind of her model though. Like,
Yeah, but what I
she
mean is in
kind of-
terms of character role.
No,
You know
there's
what I mean?
There's
Like,
no one.
Yeah.
There's no one as annoying as Windblade. No.
But without a
Maybe
shade of
Thunderblast.
bias.
What about Thunderblast?
Maybe.
She's kind of annoying. She's very.
But she
annoying.
was from a show full of annoying Decepticon characters, chock
That
full
is
of annoying
true.
Decepticon characters. She was just the
That
most
is true.
annoying. But
Ransack
my
and
point being is
Grumpy
I can say without a shade of bias that that if there was a Decepticon equivalent to Windblade, like I still wouldn't like that character's central
Her name
bullshit.
would
Like
be Blade Wind.
yeah, it's just like she's a new character too. It's like those roles are reserved. Hot Rod or like you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
someone that we like.
yeah, there's already existing characters in the Transformers universe that are time and time proven to be the people's choice for for we want them as a hero. There's a reason Optimus Prime has basically remained unchanged since the 80s as a Transformers character because he's the perfect hero. That's why every time he dies, they have to bring him back. No one else is as good as him in that role, So, to have him play second fiddle. Yeah,
but they're the same thing in the end. At the end of the day, right? At the end of the day.
All right, we got to move on. We did get bogged down.
Yes.
We did.
We did. Before
bloody Titans return every time.
Dang it, Bobby.
Before we leave, predictions for next week. We've seen this. I've been excited about it. Can Windblade come in and find Overlord and him kill her as well, please?
They wouldn't dare. Because they've already set him up to be basically untouchable at this stage. My prediction for him as a character is I reckon he's going to have something to do with Megatron, for sure. He's either going to go and fight Megatron.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're going to have a fight, or he's going to go and either take over Megatron's role, or I don't know. But I don't know. This is just a personal prediction, but I honestly think they're setting him up to be the surprise bad guy. We've already seen Starscream in Trypticon's body. That's not a big secret anymore. That's basically been revealed since the first episode. Megatron seems to have some kind of sneaky plan up his sleeve, but they sort of haven't revealed it yet. And he hasn't quite revealed himself as a villain because he's been sitting there having chum chats with Prime. And yeah, I don't know, Overlord coming out of nowhere like this and just murdering one of the major characters and like just showing himself to be a near invincible monster who's quite happy to just kill anybody for no particular reason. He's
more of a threat than a giant.
I reckon he's the new baddie. What's that, sorry?
He's more of a threat than Mechagodzilla Starscream over there. and he's the size of a steady, so
yeah, and that'll be interesting to see what connection is Overlord going to have with Tryptoscream. So I like that Tryptoscream.
Yeah. Lastly, how many more episodes do we think this fight between Trypticon and Metroplex is going to last?
Oh, the entire thing. It will
yeah, the entire thing for sure.
Okay.
And I reckon, if anything, Tryptoscream's going to kill Metroplex, or at least knock him out, and Fort Max will have to step in. Even though they said he's... Yeah.
As soon as Metroplex falls, there's just Fortress Maximus just winding up with his thing, and then he knocks out Starscream, and that's it. That's the end of it.
Dusting off all the icicles.
Yeah, all the icicles on him, yeah.
I don't know, was that ice or was it meant to be Energon? Because there's crystals like that are Energon in Transformers Prime.
Oh,
I don't know.
Then he should be powered up then.
Probably
ice.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, that's it. Just drenched in Energon.
He's too powerful.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Yeah.
Breathe.
Whew, feng shui. Okay.
That was half an hour.
It was more than that,
actually.
So we've cut down from last couple of weeks.
Excellent.
Yeah. And we've won less too.
Yeah. I'm sure if Jason was here, we'd still be talking about the opening sequence and how much he hated it,
and every single thing that is wrong with it. Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
No, all good.
Anyway,
jumping into some Takara news. Japan Comic Con is on at the moment, and this fella being the version 2 Darth Vader, we have seen before in prototypes. They've got it on display there. I was talking in the pre-show how his head sort of looks very comic or very original art.
Which is cool.
Yeah, Darth Vader.
Yeah, concept art. Yeah.
Yeah.
More angry.
Yep.
More insectoid.
I like how they're focusing on more of the vehicle modes, getting them perfect, basically. And that looks like a perfect a TIE bomber, I believe it is.
Yeah.
And it looks so good. I don't even think it should transform, and then it transforms
Actually,
into this
that's
really decent looking robot.
That's actually Darth Vader's personal TIE fighter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's not a bomber, is it? So it's just his thing.
Yeah, it kind of makes more sense because it's Darth Vader. So.
Yeah. Okay. So it's his TIE Darth Vader.
Yeah, because he always had just like a slightly chunkier one than the normal TIE fighters with the bent wings.
TIE bombers. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's interesting because one thing,
he looks awesome.
The Marvel crossovers and that had the engineering for whatever character they're going for, but they could just transform into a random alt mode where the Star Wars stuff has been more expensive because not only are they the Star Wars character, but they also have to go back into a Star Wars alt mode that
not only
it's recognizable.
The Star Wars brand.
Yeah,
the most recognizable vehicles in sci-fi.
Exactly. And for them to look this good, like they didn't look as good as the US version. These look like that looks spot on to that, you know. Even to like the stop motion that I think they used for maybe did they use some form of stop motion for the trench scene? Or
the model? No, they'll use the
models.
Yeah.
Well, models,
yeah, with blue screens.
Yeah. So that looks like the model, which is really cool. And then the robot.
Well, I'm pretty sure they have like a masterpiece line for, or the equivalent to for Star Wars.
No, not vehicles. Vehicles,
well?
you got little die-cast vehicles, and that's it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Speaking of iconic. Iconic
you don't
vehicles.
Get more iconic than this.
Yeah.
Version 2 Falcon.
Brilliant YT 800, whatever they call it. The
I'll trust you on that. Any hate mail go to christurner@gmail.com.
The DeLorean?
It's
I think it's the Enterprise. Yeah. It's my favorite Pokemon. Yeah.
I prefer Digimon.
It's a Snorkel Mecha.
This thing looks stunning.
I've got the original Falcon, and this looks a lot better.
And that thing's a junky monkey and has gold plastic. No,
I hope this doesn't.
That. Oh God, please don't.
Minus the overly cartoonish weapons on the roof of it, on the top of it. But
I was wondering what the deal was with that.
I'd remove that.
You get a little Chewie and Han with this, which I don't know if that. I'm guessing it would have come with the original. I didn't get them with mine, but
it did. Yeah. This thing, it doesn't look like it transforms, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm wondering, like, how, what, who, where, why? I don't understand. Does it transform into a robot Han? Like,
so the original one split the ship right in the middle.
Yeah,
and
where
the back end turned into Chewie, and then the front end turned into Han.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's kind of like a reverse duo clone, kinda.
Yeah,
but
we haven't seen any
the risk of sounding like, I don't know, like a robot Han. Like,
yeah, I know. So that was the problem with.
I haven't seen it, so I don't know how you'd make that look cool. Like,
human characters didn't look the greatest because they basically was their human face. They kind of sometimes they actually colored it skin. Okay, Brad's gonna go and look some up. But the stormtroopers looked good because they just had their masks, and their masks looked robotic, and and like Boba Fett looks like a robot anyway, so that's not too hard to believe. But if we, what did you type in?
Yeah, he does. Yeah. So I guess.
Yeah. So that's the original.
Yeah.
I don't know if we can get.
I hope your safe search is on.
This was a really.
Don't look at anything from Tumblr.
No.
That's your hand.
So yeah, see that face? So
oh right. Oh good lord.
Nothing. That is worse than I remember it.
No.
Chewie looks good.
Apart from the fact any of those brown parts exploded, so in his
Yeah,
no,
my
sorry guys, neither of
my-
those. They look awful.
my
The
right.
Chewie looks like he transforms into a toilet.
Go back to it.
And the head, it looks like one of the turds floating in the bowl. Like,
That is quite
wow,
true. Yeah. Okay, fair enough.
that's
At
horrible.
least he's got a
I'm
shoulder
not a
mounted weapon.
You just can't. I don't know. It's like when they did the Marvel Transformers crossovers. And I mean, I love Spider-Man almost as much as I love Transformers. And I remember picking up the Spider-Man Transformer and just being like, no, this
You
doesn't
shouldn't
work.
exist.
Yeah. This is a blasphemy to both
Yeah.
franchises. You know?
But I think Takara will do it right. Because just
Yeah,
looking at
Takara always does it right.
well,
except
that's,
for
But
that is-
players.
see, yeah, look at the detail on that, and then back at that,
Yeah.
like again,
That's a lot.
Well, it's like looking at a chug and a masterpiece, really, isn't it?
yeah,
It's
basically.
yeah.
the same ramping
And
up
this
in
has
quality.
Yeah, and this being a $50 or $60 figure, or actually being a combined, it's probably 80 or 90. But just this is a base model for a custom. Get rid of that stupid gun off the top, and all the other details
Yep.
there to customize, battle scar it, whatever else. And it's going to be cheaper than any model kit, Star Wars model kit for the Falcon that's currently released.
Has it ever like? Have you guys ever thought about like whenever they go into like hyperspace, like that radar dish, that thing is coming flying off.
There's no friction in space, Mikey. It's a vacuum.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. I just
There's no
always
air.
thought they're
There's
moving
no
so
air for
fast.
resistance.
That's
Yeah.
okay.
When
No,
it-
space
when-
doesn't work like that.
When they're dogfighting in atmosphere, then yes, there's an issue. But
yeah. Okay. Well, no one can. Yeah, a TIE fighter would shoot that off easily.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it?
The
Yeah,
only
that's
the
always
only
what's
thing
funny.
that doesn't make sense in not just
Cable.
Star Wars but almost all sci-fi movies is the way that spaceships move.
Mhm.
There's like if you fire a rocket to move somewhere in space, unless you fire a rocket in the other direction, you will go in that direction forever. There's no resistance. There's no stopping. So you see these sort of, just because it's what we recognize, you see these space fighters that kind of look like jets. There's no way they'd make like a space fighter like that ever. Like they reckon a proper, like if they did make a space fighter, it'd probably be like shaped like a capsule with rockets all over it, just to stop it from flying off into a black hole or something. Because
Or
you
a
see those
submarine.
NASA.
Or a submarine or
Yeah,
battleship.
exactly. Yeah, because you see those NASA like probes and stuff like that, and how they've got like those retro boosters and stuff, like, and they sort of
Retro rockets,
fire
yeah,
jets and and like that's
I
how
learned
they
that from
work,
Family
in
Guy.
space.
Retro
Yeah.
rockets.
Because those, like an X-wing, if you fired the engines of an X-wing in space, you just fly off in that direction forever. You couldn't turn, or like
Couldn't,
there's no
okay.
there's no gravity to help
That is
you
not
like in
useful.
yeah.
No.
Oh,
Anyway,
Lord.
hopefully we see.
Poor Astro Train.
Yeah, hopefully we see
Yeah.
some more photos of him in the future and see what the robot mode. See if there's an improvement. There's definitely improvement in the Vader, so hopefully Han and Chewie get that same improvement. But lastly,
Yeah.
into some statue news, just very briefly, and I will make it brief.
Yeah, this is
Here, we got Imaginarium Arts here have got a Rodimus Prime statue, which comes with two heads, two separate expressions, two pairs of arms, a rifle, and a Matrix leadership, which it doesn't say here, but I'm guessing that Matrix lights up. Yes, LED lights and Matrix, yep.
Mm.
It's got a touch sensor, so you can turn it on off. Polyresin statue. This is prototypes by the looks of it. They've also hinted that we haven't reported on previously of a Jazz and a Devastator, and just coming out today, a Starscream as well. And lastly,
It looks quality.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah. Again, they've
Looks
sort
nice.
of
detail.
using their artistic license to change things a little bit.
A lot.
Yay.
A
Mm.
lot.
But it still looks like Hot Rod. Looks
Oh,
like
yeah.
looks like G1 Hot Rod. Like you can't mistake it.
No.
Yeah. Big
I do
wings.
like that
Big-
pose. Till all are one.
Yep.
And a
it looks
couple of-
good, but you know. Carrie can do
Yeah.
that pose too.
So
the
can my
Transformers.
titanium one.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. Oh, probably not. It'd probably fall apart.
Yeah, or fall over. But
Fall over, yeah.
yeah. We also got some images today of from the Tokyo Comic Con with Prime Studios have got a Crosshairs coming out as well, which is a good looking bot, but we don't need to talk about that here. So I need to stop that and do that and do that.
Stop that.
All right. Before
Yeah.
we end up, we've got a couple of listener questions here. We're going to breeze through a couple of these quickly. Alan Jones asked, why is there a lack of new bots in the new Christmas catalogs that have been coming out in the last fortnight? That's because we're in a lull at the moment.
We're in between two series.
Yep, tail end of Titans Return and Power of the Primes. Hopefully, maybe by the end of the year, we might see Jazz in the first wave here. They're definitely coming out in international markets anyway. So
you got to admit they've timed it poorly to bring out a new series, considering Christmas is the big, like that's when the money comes in.
From memory, Combiner Wars was getting its mark on Toy World or the Toy Man or whatever it was, like Power Glide and some of the Legends figures from Combiner Wars, and that was starting to come out.
Yeah,
just before Christmas broke.
Yeah.
So that's something else. Kerry asks a question.
But that's it. That's the answer to that question, though, isn't it?
Yeah. I've still got
between two series.
I've still got Wave 1 movie figures and whatever Croc and Quake were with Titans Return here. So yeah, and you two in different states. What's the newest spots you've seen up there, Chris?
Probably Blitzwing and Octone, but they're both very rare. I know. I actually think that's because we sort of have big gaps between our releases here. Brisbane's sort of notoriously bad for getting the latest stuff, and we usually have to wait a little while before things actually hit the shelves. When they hit them in other states, and so when the new stuff does hit our shelves, they go real quick.
Yeah.
And I have to go, and if I want to get one and I can't afford it at the time, I have to hide it behind something. But yeah, I've noticed. I saw one Blitzwing, and the next time I went in to check, it was gone. So and that was only very recently. So yeah. So, I mean, they're not, by no means are they older figures, but because they only have really just kind of started coming out, but they are an older wave, so it goes to show you how long it takes to kick things into gear.
Yeah.
What about you, Mikey? What are the Blue Boys getting lately?
Well, I'm glad I did this today because I haven't done it in I haven't actually gone looking in stores for ages. I actually went and got my Chris Kringle Secret Santa for the TCCA Christmas party that's coming up next weekend on Saturday. Looking forward to that. But I went to Kmart. There's like nothing there really. What they had some broadsides, but everywhere has broadsides. And then I went to Target where they had all the good discounts on, and I got they had Croc, Twinferno, Quake. What the hell's his name? Trigger Happy,
yeah.
See the Blue Jet?
Yep.
Trigger Happy, and still unfortunately Wave 1 of the movie line. It did have the Megatron from last night. He looks alright. They actually had
which one though? The Voyager or the Leader?
Leader.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Leader. I think he was about like 60.
Leader.
But I did find something cool. They're like these. I did find something cool. There's like these remote control cars that like
the Bumblebee
control
one,
them, and then and the Barricade one, and then they stand up, and then you can fight each other with them.
I've only seen Bumblebee one.
Cool.
Yeah, so they've got a Barricade version as well. So Chris will be happy about that.
Yeah.
I was thinking about picking one up. I was like, Nah, they
What
probably
what really
don't
annoys
understand.
me about when they do those remote control car things is they released a remote control lockdown from AOE, and
Mm.
it was like a fairly big sized what do you call it, remote control car.
Lambo.
Yeah, and it was obviously it was the Lamborghini Aventador that lockdown turns into. But what gets me is it was officially licensed Hasbro product. It didn't even have, okay, even though he's not a Decepticon in the movie, he's branded as a Decepticon in the toys. It didn't even have a Decepticon logo on it. And to me, I was just like,
Heresy.
well, what has that got to do with the Transformers? Like, it's a car. It's a remote control car. It's
Basically,
not lockdown. It
yeah.
doesn't transform.
It didn't transform live, eh?
Yeah.
It didn't stand
Yeah,
up.
exactly. It
These
didn't
ones
have
at least
it didn't
stood
have any
up,
faction symbols. It
and
was
the,
it was
the
like
arms can move and shit. So
Yeah. Well, that's
yeah,
it.
well, that's
Those,
what I mean.
these-
It's like at least they've done something with them. Whereas like this one, it was just like, well, I could just go and buy a remote control Aventador, like, and
Yeah, for
say it's
cheaper.
lockdown. Yeah,
Yeah.
for cheaper, and say it's lockdown. It's like,
Exactly.
yeah. So at least they
repro
do
label
something
on it.
with it now. Yeah.
all these years seeing those giant Japanese robot cars standing up, they've been able to bring it down into a itty bitty scale.
Yeah.
That's exactly. They stand up exactly the same way. The whole back of the car is a base,
Yeah.
and the front
Yeah.
just lifts up, and the arms come out.
And the arms come
essentially.
out, and then on the Russian one, the arms are guns, and that was awesome.
Yeah.
That was cool. That one. Yeah. So other than that, like, not a whole lot. I don't think. I think maybe I did see some twin twist or top spin there maybe a while ago, but like, yeah. Other than that, not really a lot. But then again, I've only been to 2 stores literally today, so I mean it's up to date, so it's today. But yeah, that's all I can really report.
Yeah. All right. Just briefly, Ian Miller was just asking about what we might see coming after Power the Primes for Generations line. Like that warrants a lot bigger discussion that we might focus on in one of the hiatus episodes over the Christmas break. Along with Hasbro or Takara looking more at Beast Wars to counteract the third-party release where they're doing a lot of the original 84, 85 cast and movie figures where they're sort of aiming to go for the Beast Wars stuff because it's not currently being done officially. And that sort of ties into Bruno as well, asked about maybe a proper G2 series where something that follows the movie in season 3 where the Matrix is passed down from Rodimus to a new Autobot. And we get that whole thing happen.
Oh no,
I
it should be what's his name? The G2 guy that kind of looks like Optimus, but it's not. Turbo Master. He's
that kind of describes about 20%
Yeah.
of Autobots.
no, he's that big truck that kind of looks like Sentinel from Dark of the Moon, but like a big yellow and red. Pyro. Maybe Pyro.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's right. And the
Pyro's from the
Decepticon
Matrix.
one was Clench.
Or Drench.
Yeah.
Isn't that Euro
Yeah.
G1?
Butt Clench. Yeah.
Oh, I thought that was
No,
G2.
well, the toys-
whoops.
There's sort of like there's a whole thing about it, but they were going to release them as like the new leaders, but they ended up scrapping the idea and just doing it
I would
in
like a
Europe.
cartoon series with them. That'd be cool. As like,
Yeah, but Clench, I mean, he's named after a muscular butt movement, like, you know. When I think of Clench, I think of trying not to shit myself, so I can't really.
well, fair enough. Yeah. Well, yeah, maybe that's why he's so scary. You're gonna try not to shit yourself, and that's why.
Yeah, but there's scary and there's scary.
They're just like, oh shit, that car stood up. I just pooped my pants. There you
Yeah,
go.
exactly. Yep.
Well, and that's in, like Ian sort of said, maybe some of that Euro stuff is what they tackle next.
I wouldn't mind.
Well, let's not forget that Hasbro, in much the same way that they followed on from having the fans vote for which Titan they would release, obviously Triptychon being the winner of that, their next big vote that they had officially was who was going to be the next Prime.
Oh yeah, Primal.
And God knows how they're going to work it, but it was Optimus Primal who was chosen.
That
I don't know why.
so bad.
Even I
wanted
voted for
Thunderwing.
Ultra Magnus. Even I voted for Ultra Magnus, and
You
there was
didn't vote for
Decepticon
Thunderwing?
options. I did, I voted for a few, but
there was what was his name? What was the other dude? Deathsaurus was there as well.
Deathsaurus, yeah.
Unknown
No, I
Unknown
did vote
Evil.
for.
Yeah.
I did vote for Thunderwing, but I mean, let's face it. Like, even I'll admit, like, the next Prime's got to be an Autobot. You know, to the point where, when it was Optimus Primal chosen, I was just like, that's dumb. Like, he's a Beast Wars Maximal. Like, it made no sense to me. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. But my point being is, they kind of did have an initiative to pick a new Prime and obviously start a new sort of series or leadership of some kind, or I don't know.
Yeah.
But
toy sales, merchandise.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Well, it worked for Triptychon.
Yep.
So.
Which I'm hopefully getting for Christmas.
All right. Rightio, let's do
Fingers
this.
crossed.
Mikey, new acquisitions.
Yes,
let's do it.
I have quickly. I've been one of this guy for ages, and then I got him, and I'm in love with him, and I just can't put him down. This is Armada Tidal Wave complete, even with his box and the little comic that came with it. So he's as complete as you can get. And he's like, the joints are all pretty damn good. And even though he is a brick, he doesn't really have any knees. He doesn't really need it because he's just this massive dude, and his head can't move. But the fact that he's 3 separate vehicles that combine into this massive, just like monster spaceship, seafaring vehicle, and
he's kind of like a Titan, really. He's like an Armada. Yeah, he's a Titan.
That's what I want him to be, the next Titan.
Broadside should have been a Titan.
I want him to eventually be a Titan, because I think this could be really cool, like splitting them up, even if he didn't have to split up, but I'd prefer he would. But yeah, just imagine a massive tidal wave, and then these could move. And yeah, I love him. The combination mode with Megatron's a bit weird. I'm going to find that out on when we go to, someone's bringing a Armada Megatron to do it with. But yeah, he's just so much fun to transform. He's got all the clickety clackety ratchets that you want, and that's the best thing you want about him. Like, everywhere he's got them.
And even hand articulation for an Armada figure.
Yeah, a little bit of hand articulation.
Yeah.
With little fingers that can move, and the thumb. And yeah, the head sculpt is just like, he looks like a GoBot, kind of. Yeah, and it's just
gorgeous.
Filled with detail, and he's got paint that you'd never get today. Comes a little doofy mini-con that actually is kind of more like a GoBot. And he's just so much fun. And the fact that you can actually verse him in the game, the Australian-made Armada PS2 game, although how bloody difficult that game is, Tidal Wave's actually easy. Tidal Wave's easy to defeat if you hide behind a mountain and then just fire some rockets at his head.
He was the first boss, wasn't he?
He was like the third boss. You first came across Cyclonus, then Starscream. Yes.
Yeah. I haven't played that game since the 90s, but it was a great game. I remember it being classic.
It's so hard, though. It's okay, so the bosses were Unit 2, Heavy Unit, then Cyclonus, Starscream, Tidal Wave, Starscream again, because you couldn't get enough of him, Megatron, and Unicron. And it was so cool. Even going inside him, like in his big battleship mode, the combined mode, you could go inside, and you have to.
He's like a base in the game. I remember that.
Yeah, actually. And then, funnily enough, cool enough, the actual exits from the game are actually even molded into. So they've actually got the 4 entries and exits actually down here, which is I felt like when I saw that, I'm just like, that is epic. I didn't know they included that. And yeah, I could go on for hours about this guy, but this guy is probably one of my favorite. And I always wanted him as a kid and could never find him, or never get him. And I'm so glad. And thank you to Con Costa. I inadvertently started something on the Transformers book, the whole yelling thing, because you know how Con's iconic thing is the yeah thing. Now there's the yeah challenge, and everyone's doing that. So enjoy. I guess.
Max did one the other day.
Max's is very metal. I liked it.
I didn't hear it.
Max
but
has scared me.
Yeah, it looked passionate.
Max has scared me because it. Well, you know how Facebook just automatically plays videos, like when you scroll down. Yeah, I was just scrolling through, and he just went, "Wah!" And I was like, "Whoa!" I did not expect it.
Yeah, so if you guys want to make them, go ahead. So it's the air challenge. So a couple of people have done it. It's really quite fun. And just one more thing. The Minicron gimmick isn't actually too intrusive. It's just you put Ramjet on here, and then like his titties go up and down a bit. But even that, like, it looks like a piece of armor when you put Ramjet on, which is pretty cool. And
those guns on him, those little turrets on his chest, are like, when you've got him in hand, like the way that they move, and not only do they move around, but the way that the actual barrels of the turrets move up and down as well. Like, it's amazing, man. Like, it's such a great figure.
Yeah.
To just muck around with, like, it's really.
And to transform.
I always thought that was one of the figures that was just years ahead of its time. Like,
it was,
and it is from another world. Like,
all it's missing is a couple bit more pieces of articulation, which could, like, a Titan figure would be great. But this is definitely now, I think, is one of my favorite pieces in my collection, because he's as good as I always thought he would be, and I love him, and he's perfect. And that's all I got. But I'm just super stoked. And thanks, Con, again, for getting that to me for a very reasonable price, considering it was complete and everything. And
nice work.
Yeah, I love him to death.
Awesome.
Classic.
Yes, plastic crack. It's the good kind of crack.
Chris, anything new to report from last time you've been on?
Yeah, I got a couple of newbies. Well, I've got this awesome. No, I won't do that.
He's just missing an arm.
Yeah, that's it. By the way, if anybody has an arm for Armada Tidal Wave, Mikey, I'm looking at you. You probably don't need both arms, do you?
I'm good, mate. I'll give you my right arm just to confuse you.
I've actually got a member of the club going through his collection. He's got boxes and boxes to go through. I'm actually chasing down the Energon purple repaint. Exact same figure. He's just purple and white, I think, and dark black or something.
The colours are really off-putting, but they're unique. And he's got like light piping in his hands and stuff, which is weird.
I just prefer the color scheme for that one because he's very Decepticon. Like, it's very purple, very, you know what I mean. And also, I've got I've got a massive chunk of my collection that's Energon Decepticons.
Energon,
yeah, makes more sense to have it.
Good line.
I've only got a couple of newbies. First one, this guy here.
Oh, nice.
Now, this is the Takara Legends Scourge. Okay, tiny little bit of backstory behind this. I originally had one of the first Titans Return figures I bought was the Hasbro Scourge. To be honest, I wasn't impressed. The Hasbro Scourge has really weird color applications that are very unscourgy. And his head wasn't colored correctly. Well, when I say not correctly, like, his face was a slightly different blue and the rest of his head was the same color as his body. So it just gave him the impression of having a massive head. The only thing I could say about the Hasbro version was that in sweep mode, looked brilliant, like straight from the G1 movie, basically. It was just a pity about the actual figure. Now, I already had the old school Universe Deluxe Scourge, which is an awesome model, but he's kind of the reverse problem. He looks awesome in robot mode, very, very close to the G1 look for a sweep. Even his gun is sort of modeled after, I believe it's Fracas, his Target Master. The reverse being, though, is that for some reason they chose to make him a weird kind of stealth bomber for his alt mode rather than a classic sweep. So it's still got its benefits. Like, the cool thing about that is the fact that it makes the wings really posable. So you can sort of have them spread out like wings, or like your classic sweeps from the cartoon that had that kind of cool, like, back sort of wing cape sort of thing. So I already had that one. So I actually ended up selling my Titans Return Scourge because I was like, I've already got a cool Scourge and that thing just looks stupid.
I was going to say that's the best reason to have them both posed together. Have the new one. Well, that's the thing
this is where it gets interesting. This guy looks so cool. The Takara version, they've just nailed the paint apps. Like, he's basically G1 colors, like even things like the Hasbro version had a little Decepticon logo in the corner there, which kind of looked a bit off. Whereas the Takara, they've got the classic cartoon style big logo in the front.
Big one, yeah.
and it's hard to tell in this light as usual. But basically, the blue and the white is exactly like the G1. So, if for all intents and purposes, it's a modernisation of the G1 Scourge from the cartoon, or very close to cartoon accurate. Again, when he's in sweep mode, he looks fantastic. Basically, just looks like a G1 sweep, just slightly modernised. So what I've decided to do is, because I've got the kind of set going with, like, I've got all the sort of Chug Galvatron and obviously the Chug Cyclonus and that. So I got myself this little guy to be my Armada from the movie. So that's so they go like that. So what I'm going to do
little fella.
is I've actually got, so Scourge turned up the other day. I've already got this guy. I've actually got on order, he's not coming till Tuesday, another one of these Universe, no, it might be Generation Sweeps from another member of the club, but with repro labels. So he's just that little bit different. So basically, it's going to be set up so he's Scourge and he's got the 2 sweeps, and they're sort of all easily identifiable as who's who sort of thing. So yeah, I'm a lot of people who see me post my crap in the club know that I'm big on like little sets. Like I love my little trios and character sets from certain movies and stuff like that. So I've been after a kind of Scourge and Sweeps trio for a while. I just sort of wasn't happy with the Hasbro version, but now I've got the Takara one. I'm set to and the other sweeps on the way. I'm set to have the nice little Unicron set. So so that's that. And the only other thing, I actually got this guy a couple of weeks ago, but I thought he'd be worth a mention. Probably not something you see a lot on the show, but from a line you don't see a lot on the show. But this is the Robots in Disguise Galvatronus. So he's what they label he's what they label a Crash Combiner, which is basically the Robots in Disguise version of combiners. Obviously, from my last little rant that I just told you about, I'm a big Galvatron fan. Anything associated with Galvatron, I snap up. I've obviously got the Combiner Wars Galvatronus, which is massive. It's obviously Combiner Wars scale. So this guy probably works out to be about Voyager size for a Chug.
I saw them today, actually.
Yeah, well, I really like him. Like, for what he is, like, he's a very basic figure. And I mean, when you actually detach all the parts, the limbs are basically repaints of each other. But I kind of like that because it creates symmetry. Like, he looks like, rather than just having bits. That's the only thing I didn't like about the Combiner Wars Galvatronus, is he's just got bits hanging everywhere because he's not symmetrical.
He's a gimp.
Yeah, and the parts themselves are really basic. Like, it all comes in a pack, so you don't have to like collect the limbs or anything like that. Like, they all come together. However, the parts themselves, like, they're very basic robot modes for the arms, very basic robot modes for the legs. The only thing worth mentioning when they're separated as individuals is it's not a half bad Cyclonus that makes up the body. It's basically turns into like a warrior scale RID Cyclonus. Which is not too bad. I mean, I've got heaps of different versions of Cyclonus, and he's not the greatest, but he's, for what he is, like, he's, because I mean, Robots in Disguise is basically aimed at kids, so he's a very simple Cyclonus, but he's awesome. So features wise, he's very basic, as I said. He comes with a pretty cool gun. Which is weird because in the show he's got like an axe thing, so I don't know why
that did suck.
Gave him a gun.
How they did that.
He was awesome in the show. I will mention that. Like, Cyclonus as well. Really, really cool designs for these characters.
Good voice. Do you remember who was that? The voice?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I don't know who it was, but it was, he nailed it. It was a very nice Cyclonus. So probably the best feature of this figure is, I don't know whether you can see, his head is really cool. He's got a really mean looking face. Very basic, but like, just perfectly like a mix between Galvatron and Cyclonus classic faces. That's probably my favorite feature. There's also a weird kind of flip feature when they're separated, where you press a button and it flips from Cyclonus's face into Galvatronus's face. Now, the only thing is, it is a very basic figure, and because of that, It's got very limited articulation. There's no knee joints.
Oh wow.
His
He's tidal wave.
his feet, basically his feet. You can sort of get some kind of posability out of him because of the fact his feet are like little car things, like in the cartoon. And so you can actually, they've got like a pivot to tilt up and down. So if you sort of tilt one down and leave one straight, you can sort of get him into different positions. His arms only rotate forward and down, sort of thing. So
Yeah.
it's you can kind of bend them and stuff as well, but it's very basic. Like there's not much you can do with it. The only thing that I really don't like about this figure, because like I said, I take it for what it is, and for what it is, it's quite a cool little piece. But it's got this weird gimmick when you combine it. Well, it's not a gimmick; it's just a bad design for her, I guess. Which is that part of the way Cyclonus transforms into the torso for Galvatronus is these parts here are actually his arms, and they fold up, as you can see, and then connect to become part of his chest. There's actually no way to tab those in. So if you move his arms in a certain way, like they just kind of come out. So you have to sort of consciously hold his shoulders if you want to pose his arm in a certain way. Otherwise, the moment you do that,
Go get your arm.
Yeah, he kind of has this orangutan kind of look where he can,
he can be
swing through the jungle.
What do you call it?
Yeah.
Stringy.
All I want to do is have a hug.
Idiot. Yeah. But, I'll leave it at that. But I have to say, I mean, he's not, by no means is he a masterpiece, but he's, for what he is, he's a very basic figure, but he does look cool. Like in a Chug collection like mine, I've got a couple of other like relatively similar scaled combiners like Infernicus from the movie, and also got a what do they call him? Bomb Shock, the Power Core combiner,
Yep.
little mini Bruticus. Standing next to guys like of equivalent scale, like he's actually not bad. He's one of those figures where the simplicity works for him. Like he doesn't have a lot of detail, but he'd kind of look bad if they chucked heaps of detail on him, because he can't do much, so he just sort of looks cool, just being like a little purple, staunch little Galvatronus.
He has a one up on the he has a one up on the Power Core combiners because his limbs can actually transform. So
yeah, that's true. That's true. However, as an owner of a couple of Power Core combiners, people give them a lot of shit, but they are very heavily detailed figures. Like as far as actual the molds go, like they've got way more detail than this guy. Like you can't really pick it out, but that's just like plain smooth plastic, like all over. Like there's no there's no panel lining or anything. Like it's just plastic. So so that's me, guys. Like nothing too new. I'm still waiting on that other sweep to show up in snail mail. Thank you, Australia Post, for giving me the dick once again. I mean, the seller sent it last week, and it's showing up on Tuesday according to parcel tracking. So like. I mean, they've already lost one of my items in the mail in the last month, so I'm so pissed off at Australia Post. But that's a rant for another time and another place. So sorry. Before we move on, I'll just say one more thing about this guy. I have to say, even though I've sort of sung his praise and said like he's pretty cool for what he is, I saw obviously being Decepticon collector, I was only interested in the other Decepticons. The Menasor, and from what I saw of the Ultra Bee, the Autobot combiner from the same series, looked horrible. Like so bad. Like some of the worst Transformers I've ever seen in my life. Like so crap. And same price and same series that he's from. So I say if you're a fan of Galvatronus or whatever, grab him, but like stay away from the other guy. The Menasor looks disgusting. So So moving on to you, Brad. Sorry about that, mate.
Sorry, just had to yell at cat.
Yell at a cat?
Mongrel wanted to get in the back door. Fucking it thinks it's domesticated. All right, outro. Lovely. No, not code. Thanks for listening. If you've been watching along on the YouTube show, thank you. You can head over to transformersweekly.podbean.com to check out all the previous episodes of the podcast. And we're also on iTunes as well. A little bit of housekeeping before we leave. Probably do this week next week, the 15th of December, will probably be the last regular show. Then we'll have a return of Off the Rails for over the Christmas break.
Yay.
Until we come back in the new year. So that's going to happen here. And all that. Mikey, thanks for...
Oh.
So fluent with your outros. Yeah,
No, I like it, man. I
uh,
like it. In comparison to Jason, like Brad's just fast and loose with it, eh? Like he just like, yeah, you guys know the
Jason's
score.
like, yes, we've got this and that and this and that, and then Brad's just like, yeah, there's some stuff.
I just like it because they both do it well. They both do it well, but it's like the polar opposite. Like Jason is like the king of like the details and the red tape and like just nailing down like the formulaic, you know, intro and outro. Brad's just like, whatever, guys. Like, yeah, just read it if you want. It's over there. Like,
if we weren't half an hour over schedule, I would go for a while. All the club stuff's on the club website at transformerscca.com. We got 2 weeks left of the donation drive as well, so head over there and check all that out.
Tickets.
Yep.
I'm looking forward to seeing everyone that's coming to the New South Wales meetup the Saturday. What will that date be? The 11th?
No, that is the 9th.
Yeah, that one.
Yep.
See, I'm so on top of this. So Saturday the 9th at Brad Towner's Armored Heaven in Penrith, and it's gonna be a really cool time. Don't forget everyone who's doing the Chris Kringle Secret Santa to get your stuff, because I ain't giving stuff away if I ain't gonna get something. I'm looking forward to seeing all you guys there and having a good time.
Yep, and I'm heading down to Pleasant Surprise tomorrow night for the Melbourne meetup. That's why Jason's on here. He's
heading out,
flying down there as well, so it should be a good night tomorrow.
Yeah. Don't forget to take lots of videos and all that.
And for all the Queensland members who are still waiting on confirmation of the Queensland Christmas party, we are working on it. We've had a few hiccups in regards to a date and an exact time, but we're sort of paneling out the final details of it. So have faith. We'll lock in a date by easily by middle of next week. So still give you plenty of time to plan for it and everything. But yeah, hopefully once we get that nailed down, it'll be fun. So yeah, but we are working on it, guys. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. And of course, Max isn't here because the 8,000 litre an hour diesel generator battery that Elon Musk built doesn't work, and
no, there you go.
Australia is off the grid,
we haven't been able to connect to him, so you are one Death Metal Max free this episode.
Yeah. So until next week.
Death Metal Max.
Death Metal Max.
Mad Max.
Mad Metal Max.
Good night.
Awesome.
Good night, guys.
Thanks for having me on tonight, guys. Appreciate it.
Been a pleasure. Don't hang up.